Hey gang, welcome back to Let's Level Up. My name is Rick, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Magic the Gathering Arena of the Planeswalkers tactical board game, also known as Magic the Gathering the board game. In this game, we're going to be able to choose between one of 5 different Planeswalkers. We've got Gideon, Jace, Liliana, Chandra, and Nissa. And each of those are going to combat, or rather, champion their particular color of magic. So Gideon will be representing the plains and the white magic, Jace the islands and the blue magic, Liliana the swamps and the black magic, Chandra the mountains and the red magic, and Nissa the forest and the green magic. Each of these planeswalkers has a cool pre-painted miniature. And what I wanted to do in this video is kind of show you the components. I haven't played a game yet. I just got this thing, but as I was unboxing it, I thought this may be something that you guys may want to see because there's not a whole lot of component overview videos out there yet. And some of the components are kind of unique. I really like the way the board snaps together and how some of the terrain all comes together. I think that provides a really neat experience. And the miniatures look okay. They're not the best quality painted as far as the Planeswalkers go, but the actual models themselves have some nice detail to them, so may make fun painting projects. So let's pop this box open and take a look. Let's go ahead and start with the Planeswalker miniatures first. So we're going to take a first look at a Gideon here. You can see these are pre-painted. They've got clear plastic bases. Some of mine are kind of warped, which I'm not, terribly impressed with, and the paint job itself I'm not terribly impressed with, but, this looks like Gideon, and I think this is a good model for Gideon. There's a lot of really nice detail here in the armor, and I think it's something if somebody wanted to, they could strip this paint off and, repaint it and have it look really, really nice. Next up, we've got Jace. I think Jace probably looks the best. Of course, I'm a little biased. I'm a big fan of Jace within the multi-sphere. And I think he's one of the coolest planeswalkers there is. So, but there's a lot of detail here on Jace. Really cool stuff. Then we have Chandra. Chandra's got some nice detail to her as well. You can kind of see the warping there of her base. So, it's it's pretty bad right there. She does sit still, which is nice. But she's there's not a whole lot of detail to her other than the fire, which is cool. It's actually cool to see the translucent fire and the solid plastic here on the model as well. I thought that's kind of neat. And then we've got Nissa. I'm not quite sure what happened to Nissa's face, but this should be her. Looking all elvish and whatnot. And then finally we've got Liliana. And again, her face, the details in her face aren't quite there, but the rest of her looks pretty dang good. Okay, so now all of these guys are actually going to have an army card or a planeswalker card that's going to represent them. So let's take a look at each of these models once again, but with their actual army cards so that we can see what kind of specs and abilities that they're going to have. These army cards are basically twice as high as a normal Magic card would be. And so the first half are going to be the actual artwork of the Planeswalker or the army, and then their stats as well. So here we have Gideon. Gideon has life of 6. He's got a movement of 6. He's got a range of 1, which means he's basically only going to be melee attacking. He's going to roll 3 dice on an attack and 5 dice on a defense. This box here is actually really neat. There's a green dot in the center there, which actually shows their line of sight when determining line of sight and on where they can see things. The dark gray around them is actually where you have to be able to see in order to actually make an attack on this thing. So it's cool. So any part of their body, basically, if they're visible from around a wall or through terrain, you'll be able to justify an attack on as long as that gray is visible. The bottom half of this card are actually going to have their abilities. So his first ability is Avatar of Justice. It says Gideon gains plus X strength, where X is the number of opponent figures within 2 clear sight spaces of Gideon. So the more people that are around Gideon, the stronger that he is going to be. He also gets a counter strike, which says when rolling dice for Gideon on defense against an attack from an adjacent attacking figure, each excess shield you roll counts as an unblockable hit on the attacking figure, which is really nice. He's going to be rolling 5 dice when it comes to defense, and the dice themselves are actually these little d6s here. So when you roll those, any shields you get are going to act as a defense, and any hit you get is going to act like a hit when you're attacking and when you're defending, respectively. There's also a blank space on here. Each die has 3 hit sides, or 3 crossed swords, 2 shields, and 1 empty. Next up, we have Liliana. Liliana has a life of 7. She's going to roll a movement of 6, a range of 6. She's going to roll 4 dice on attacking and 3 dice on defense. She also has 2 abilities. One is Zombie Toughness. It says all zombies you control within 4 clear sight spaces of Liliana get +1 toughness. And then she has Snuff Out. It says destroy a target squad creature that has 1 or more damage markers on it and within 6 clear sight spaces of Liliana. You use this ability only once per turn. So one of the things that you're going to do on your turn is you're going to activate either an army card or your planeswalker. And then there you're going to activate all the units of that subcategory. So, for instance, if I wanted to activate Liliana for this particular turn, I could use her Snuff Out ability. But if I wanted to activate my zombies, per se, I wouldn't be able to use Liliana Snuff Out ability. So there's some interesting dynamics there when it comes to troop movement and actually navigating the terrain that I think are really going to be very fun when it comes to multiplayer. Here we have Nisa's card. Nisa's got a life of 7. She's going to move 5. She's got a range of 7. She's got 3 strength and 4 toughness. And she also has 2 abilities. Her first ability is Keen Sight. It says each creature you control with a range, each green creature you control with a range of 2 or more within 4 clear sight spaces of Nisa gets +2 to their range. So her elves are going to get even more powerful because they're going to be able to shoot across the battlefield as long as they're near Nisa. She also has a sprint ability, which a lot of the elves have. It says at the end of Nisa's turn, you may move her up to 3 more spaces. Which again is nice. You can move potentially up to 8 different hexes on a turn, and these hexes are pretty big. You can see there for reference, there's our figure from before. Now I read Jace first, because again, Jace has got a special place for me here. But he actually has a really, really cool ability, but there's a very low percentage chance it's actually going to work when you use it. But it's awesome. He has a life of 7. He's got a movement of 6, a range of 7. He's going to roll 5 dice on attack, which is actually quite a lot, and I think is the most out of any of the planeswalkers, and has a 3 defense. He has 2 different abilities. The first is Focus Thoughts. It says you can look at the top card of your library, and you may put the card on the bottom of your library. Use this ability once per turn. So it's basically a scry that you can do. And then he's got Mind Stealer. Mind Stealer says at the end of Jace's turn, you may choose a target planeswalker within 4 clear sight spaces of Jace. Then roll a d20. If it's a roll as a 16 or higher, you control that planeswalker and may use one of its abilities, move, and attack with a planeswalker. Afterward, you return the control of the planeswalker. So you're basically going to be able to steal the mind of one of the enemy planeswalkers, control them, attack their own creatures with them, use one of their abilities, and then remove them into harm's way, which is going to be really powerful. But again, it's on a 16 or higher, so what is that? It's a 20% chance you're actually going to get that. But, if you're rolling well and the dice are with you, that's a really, really powerful ability. And finally, we've got Chandra. Chandra has got a life of 6. She's got a movement of 6. She's got a range of 5. She's going to roll 3 strength, 4 toughness. She has 2 attacks, or she has 2 abilities as well. The first is double attack. It says when Chandra attacks for the first time each turn, she can attack an additional time this turn. She's basically going to get 2 attacks. So that actually is going to be a little bit more damage output than Jace is going to do with his base of 5. She's going to get 2 separate attacks of 3, which can potentially be more depending on what buffs are out on the table at the point, or if she has high ground. She also has Superheated. It says discard a red card, deal 1 damage to a target creature within 6 clear sight spaces of Chandra. Use this ability only once per turn. A lot of these planeswalkers are going to function a lot like their Magic counterparts would. And what I mean by that, with this base game of the board game, there's a lot of counters that come with blue. There's a lot of direct damage and burn that come with red. There's a lot of life gain that comes with the white deck. And there's a lot of enhancements that come with the green deck. And finally, there's a lot of really cool stuff that comes with the black deck, which we'll look into some of the undead mechanics there. But each of these are going to play like a basic Magic to get. If you can imagine buying a 2016 core set or a intro pack, if it was all one solid color, you'd get basically a very basic flair of what Magic is going to bring to you. A lot of the really Newer mechanics that have been introduced are not present in this game yet, but this game, just reading through the rule book, has made it abundantly clear that there are going to be a ton of expansions for this game. There is a set icon here in the bottom right corner of the actual cards that lets you know what set they come from, and then they also, I'm sure, you're going to introduce more spells, more army types, more figures, more planeswalkers, more terrain types that can come in the future, which is really nice. Let's take a look at some of the other... Okay, let's take a look at the Rhox Veterans, the first army here within the Plains, or the White School of Monsters, or Magic, rather. So there are going to be 3 units here. They each have 3 life, 5 movement, a range of 1, so they're going to be melee attackers. They've got a toughness of 3, a strength of 3, and a toughness of 2. They also are going to get +1 toughness for each Rhox Veteran you control that are adjacent to it. So you're going to want to move these guys as a pack. And then finally they have Trample as well. So it says, while attacking, if a Rhox Veteran would assign damage enough to destroy a defending figure, you may have it assign the rest of the damage to a figure adjacent to that defending creature. So I actually like the way the Trample mechanic works in this game. Rather than going directly to the Planeswalker, directly to the player, it's going to go directly to an adjacent creature, which I think is really interesting. We have the core Hookmasters here. They have a life of 3, a movement of 5, a range of 3, 3 strength, and 2 toughness. They also have the Detain ability. It says, when you summon the core Hookmaster squad, choose the target squad an opponent controls. That squad and each other squad that opponent controls with the same name as that squad can't take a turn during the opponent's next turn. So basically they're going to detain those users, or detain that whole squad and every squad with that same name for the next turn, which also begs to say that I'm probably going to need to buy another core set, right? If I'm going to want to maximize my chances for some sort of league play. Maybe I want to go full zombies with Liliana. There's only 1 zombie squad that's included in this base set. Again, this game is just begging for dollars to be spent on it, which I don't have at the moment. But it wouldn't be Magic, right, if they didn't just suck every dollar out of you at every available opportunity. Looking at some of the black armies now, we have Blighted Reavers. They are zombies. They have a life of 3. They have a movement speed of 5, a range of 1, a toughness and strength both of 3. They also have Necrotic Stench. It says each non-zombie creature within 2 clear sight spaces of any Blighted Reaver gets a -2 toughness, which is really interesting. They also have Restless Zombies. Zombies have a life of 1, a movement of 5, a range of 1, 3 strength, and 1 toughness. But they have an ability called Darkness Arises. This is at the start of your turn. If a black planeswalker you control, start of a turn of a black planeswalker you control. If all Restless Zombies are in your figure's graveyard, you may roll a 20-sided die. If the result is 12 or higher, return each Restless Zombie from your figure graveyard to the battlefield and an empty space within 4 clear sighted spaces of the planeswalker. So these guys are really squishy, but they're going to be able to keep coming back. You got basically a 40% chance to roll them back onto the board when they're all dead. So the Restless Zombies are going to keep coming and keep coming. Next up, we have the green armies here. First are Elf Rangers. They've got a life of 3, movement of 5, range of 5, strength of 3, and toughness of 1. But they have Squad Sprint. A range of 5 is a lot of distance here on this board, especially when they're next to Nissa and they can get potentially +2 more range. A range of 7 with these guys is going to be able to shoot quite far. Squad Sprint says at the end of the Elf's turn, you may move each Elf Ranger up to 3 spaces. So again, they're going to be able to cover a lot of distance as well, moving potentially 8 spaces a turn, and have a range of 7 if they're near Nissa. That's a very, very far. That's not including any buffs. Or any enchantments, rather. There's a Pummelroot Elementals here. They have a life of 3, movement of 5, range of 1, 4 strength, 3 toughness, and the Trample skill as well. So they'll deal any extra damage to adjacent figures. Here we go, getting into some of the red armies here. We've got the Flamewing Phoenixes. They have a life of 1, movement of 6, range of 1. They have a strength of 2 and a toughness of 1. They are flying creatures, which means they're going to be able to move over things and not be worried about becoming engaged, as long as they're not in a landed position when they start their turn. Next, they have Rebirth. Rebirth is actually a really neat ability. This is when you play a red sorcery, if you have at least one Flamewinged Phoenix in the battlefield, return a Flamewinged Phoenix from your figure graveyard to the battlefield on an empty space adjacent to a red planeswalker you control at the end of your turn. Use this ability only once per turn. So if you lose all of your Phoenixes, you're actually not going to be able to keep them. You're not going to be able to use Rebirth. But if you have at least one on the board, you're going to be able to keep bringing them back one at a time. So you're going to be able to be very mobile with these Phoenixes, and then kind of control the board that way, dealing the two damage whenever you can. And then there are the Blazing Firecats. They have a life of 2, movement of 7, range of 1. They're going to roll 3 dice for attacks, 4 dice for defense. They have the haste ability, which means when you summon the Blazing Firecat squad, you can immediately attack with the Blazing Firecat. And they also have Intense Strike. This is whenever a Blazing Firecat attacks, if you roll at least 2 crossed weapons symbols for its attack, it gains a +1 hit. So if you roll 2 successes, you're going to get another success for free, which is awesome. The last 2 armies of the game are both in the blue. Illusionary Projections here have a life of 2, movement of 5, range 6, strength of 3, toughness of 2. They have Collective Knowledge. So when you summon an Illusionary Card Projection squad, draw a card. And then the Illusionary Deception. At the start of your turn, a blue planeswalker you control may exchange the space location of that planeswalker and an Illusionary Projection you control. Neither figure takes leaving engagement attacks, which is really cool. Kind of free teleport to move Jace around the field. It's going to be awesome. Actually, just looking at these guys, I'm really liking the way that Black's going to play and the way that Blue's going to play. But I really like those 2 colors in Magic myself. I'm not overly impressed with what I've seen with Green or Red. And White has a lot of sustain. I think they're going to be able to mitigate a lot of damage just by direct heals from their spells. So let's take a look at a couple of the spells here and just some of the big ones that you may remember from the actual Magic the Gathering game and how they have been modified to fit this new. Okay, just to show you a couple of these ones that I really like. First, we've got Misdirection. It's a sorcery. There are only 2 types of spells in this game. There are sorceries and there are enchantments. There's no instants, which instants are a huge part of Magic. I'm not going to be able to interrupt you from doing something on my turn unless I've already played an enchantment that allows me to do so. That's something to really keep in mind if you're a big fan of control, if you're a big fan of gotcha moments in Magic. I don't know how many of those are going to be present in this game. Again, I haven't played it yet. But just from looking at the cards, I don't see a lot of those situations occurring. Again, this is the first set, so that's a bit of a warning. But all in all, I mean, Blue's all about control. It's about countering spells and whatnot. And there are a few counters in the form of enchantments, but again, no instance means no real gotchas. There's also no land source, so I don't have to worry about having the amount of mana to be able to play these spells anyways. So it may all even out at the end. Misdirection says I can move a face-up enchanted squad card or face-up enchanted planeswalker to a new target. So I can take this and basically take an enchantment, move it from one squad or planeswalker to another. If it's a boon, I can move it to my guys. If it's a bane, I can move it off my guys onto the enemies. We have Jace's Erasure. Jace's Erasure says target planeswalker puts the top 2 cards from their library to their graveyard, which is a classic Magic spell. Here's one of the hidden enchantments called Scatter Arc. Scatter Arc is a hidden enchant planeswalker card. It's, so you're basically going to play that on your planeswalker library, or on your planeswalker card, kind of like this. If I get Jace out there, I'll play this card here to let us know that Jace does have this enchantment on them, and then we're able to flip this card and activate it once we meet a certain condition. So the card says flip Scatter Arc over the next time an opponent plays an enchantment. You counter that enchantment and then destroy Scatter Arc. There are a couple of other counters in here. Here is Psychic Rebuttal. This is going to actually go through and counter any sorcery an opponent plays. And then I believe there's one for. Here's a hidden enchantment squad. Call to Heal. When the enchanted squad actually makes an attack, you're actually going to take the figure that attacked and put it back into the player's reserve, which I think is really nice. So that's kind of an idea of what Blue is going to do. And then again, there are a few more cards here in the Blue library. If we zoom out a bit, kind of show you this. So there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards. 11, 12 cards for blue. To look at some of the red cards here, and red is pretty much what you see is what you get. They've got cards like Incinerate, which is going to deal direct damage as a burn. They've got Flames of the Firebrand, which is going to deal more burn. Enchantress Outrage, which is going to be burn. Here's an interesting enchantment. Let's get in on this one so you can see this one really good. Power of Fire. Power of Fire is actually going to enchant your squad to get +1 power. Here's Fire Breathing, which is another enchantment for a squad. Enchantment squad gets +2 power while attacking adjacent figures. Here's Seize the Day. You may move and attack with red squad creatures you control. Enchantress Fury. Enchantress Fury is an enchantment for a planeswalker. Gets +1 power as long as it's unengaged. So if you can set Chandra back off on the battlefield, she's going to have dual strike, right? A double attack. So she's got double attack already. We give her Enchantress Fury on top of that. She's going to be rolling 4 dice and then another 4 dice on that attack. If she has high ground from her target, she's going to get an additional die onto that. So she could potentially be rolling 5 dice per attack and only having really 1 enchantment placed on her. Again, board position is going to be a big thing there. It's going to be situational, but she can deal a lot of damage potentially. Here's some pretty awesome black cards. First and foremost, Liliana's Caress. It says target opponent discards a card at random. Here is Despise. Despise is enchant planeswalker gets -1 to their rolls. -1 to their power. Here's Corrupt. Deal 1 damage to target creature within 5 clear sights of a black planeswalker you control, and then remove 1 damage marker from your planeswalker. So it's kind of like a drain life. This is actually going to put a damage on them, so then you can be able to use Liliana Vess's ability to snuff them out right after that. Again, I really like the way Liliana is going to play. Duress is an enchanted squad. The enchanted squad gets +1 to their power, and then when a creature in the enchanted squad deals combat damage to a planeswalker, a planeswalker an opponent controls, that opponent discards a card at random. Duress is going to be really awesome, especially with some of our squads, with the zombies. So if I play Duress on the zombies, I can potentially keep those zombies out. Or if I play them on my Stinky Zombie, my Stinky Zombie is going to be able to take away toughness dice. So they run in there with Duress, causing those planeswalkers to be able to basically just sack all the cards that they have in their hand, and you're going to be able to deal more damage with those zombies because they're going to have +1 to their power as well. Some classic green spells here that I saw. First, we have Overrun, which is going to give you +2 to your toughness, and it's going to give you trample. We've got Bountiful Harvest. You remove up to 3 damage markers from a friendly planeswalker. We've got Fog, which is going to remove all damage that a figure rolls and it attacks. Here's Primeval Light. You destroy all face-up and face-down enchantments. So that's kind of like a board-wide, get rid of all the enchantments. Let's get started over. Kind of a very nice Naturalize ability, which we have as well. So Naturalize is a hidden enchantment. You flip it over when a creature enchanted squad is attacked by a figure an opponent controls. Destroy all face-up and face-down enchantments attached to the attacking figure's army, and then destroy Naturalize. So Naturalize isn't as powerful as Primeval Light, but it also is going to be able to keep your friendly enchantments that you've got on the board. Finally, let's take a look at a couple of the white spells as well. We've got Healing Salve, which remove up to 2 damage. Solemn Offering, which is destroy a target face-up or face-down enchantment. We've got Gideon's Phalanx. It says all white creatures you control within 4 clear sight spaces of the enchanted planeswalker get +1 toughness. There is Inspired Charge. All creatures you control within 8 clear spaces of the white planeswalker you control get +2 power and +1 toughness. And Battlewise Valor, which again is another hidden enchantment, which is going to give you +4 toughness until the end of the turn when a figure is attacked by a figure an opponent controls. So Again, these are kind of just a really quick example. There's still more cards for each of these things that we didn't talk about. One of the things I was really surprised with, which is kind of a staple in Magic, that white doesn't have a pacify skill. So you can look through some of the other spells. You got Honor the Pure, Marked by Honor, Blessing, Divine Fervor, Near-Death Experience, Sanctified Charge, and Swift Justice. No pacify. I was really kind of hoping for that because I really think it'd be cool to control a creature, at least for a couple turns. So maybe that'll come in an expansion. I don't know. So as you can see here, these are modular boards. There's going to be 6 of them that come in this set, and they actually fit very well into one another. I was really impressed with how easy they are to assemble. They are really big as well. So each one has 6 hexes wide, and 8 hexes deep. So on someone that can move 5, I can move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and almost cover most of the map. They also come with these little raised areas here, which act as bonus height. So here, when I'm moving, if I'm moving up from here to here, just stepping up onto this is going to be 1 extra movement. So let's say again, I've got 5 movement. Let me just move that right there. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And if I'm attacking somebody that's down here, I'm higher than them, I'm going to have a height advantage. I'm going to be able to add 1 more die to my roll. And that would be nothing, but Leon FS is also rolling 4 dice, so I'd get another 3 there to get an attempted hit. The game also comes with these really neat dividers here, which block line of sight. So if this was here, and Jace was on this other side, I wouldn't be able to attack Jace because I can't see Jace. There are 2 really large ones here that come with the base game, and there are 6 of these particular tiles. What I have set up here, let me get this moved over, are 3 of the tiles, and just to kind of show you, I mean, that's a lot of play space just with these 3. If I move them all sideways, they may be able to fit on my table, and I've got a 3-foot by 6-foot table, or maybe an almost 3-foot wide 6-foot table. So these are actually quite large, and I probably wouldn't be able to play a full game with all 6 tiles on this particular setup. But I think if you're doing a 2-player game, you can probably get something really nice in just with these 3 tiles here. The booklet comes with a lot of sample games and what you'd play to. Either you play to a set number of turns, or you're going to play till an opponent dies, whichever comes first. Let's see what else we have here. We've got these damage tokens, which are really nice. These are going to go actually on the army cards to show that they've got damage. If they're unique, if they're common armies, they're going to go on the base of the units themselves, and you're going to put them on your Planeswalker cards as well when you take damage. You got a standard Magic D20 here, and a lot of these D6s to be able to roll hits and stuff. Hey, there's 2 there. Look at that. 2 hits, it's not bad. The game also comes with these glyphs, which act as power-ups. You basically are going to put these glyphs down on the board, and whenever you have a creature stop on one of these glyphs, you'll be able to turn it over and get a permanent bonus. Or depending on what it is, there's actually one that just lets you draw a card. Some of these are permanent bonuses for the whole squad, which is nice. So let's take a look at a couple of these figures here before we go ahead and let you guys go. Here we have the Elemental. Again, a lot of detail in that Elemental. Here's one of our elves. We've got a Phoenix. Firecat. Notice the Firecat base is actually 2 wide. When moving, you're going to move the front part of the base 1 additional hex. Excuse me, not additional hex, 1 hex. We've got our Stinky Zombies. And we got our Restless Zombies. I love the models on these Restless Zombies. This looks awesome. Got our Hookmasters. Our Rhinos. We have Leyline Phantoms. And our Illusions. It's cool the Illusions kind of resemble Jace. I think that's nice. Nice touch. That's all of the different armies. Now there are a few of these per, so the actual box comes with quite a few of them when you're looking at the whole thing. So everything fits in the box really nice, and that's, again, is a quick video to kind of show off some of the components of this game. I still haven't had the chance to play it, like I said, but I'm very much looking forward to it. First impressions, everything looked really nice. There's a manual is very easy to read. The game seems very simple to play. It seems to also be lacking a bit. Again, I know this is a core set, but my first impression is that there's a lot of neat here, but there's not a whole lot of depth in the actual game. But I'm sure that's something that they're going to resolve through the use of expansions. That being said, I think I got the game on Amazon for $35. I don't know what the MSRP is or what you're going to be able to pick it up at one of your game stores. I imagine it'd be around 50, 45. But there may be enough game here to justify that kind of price. Again, I haven't had a chance to play it, so I don't want to critique it too much based on that. But first impressions, I think there's some promise here. And I'm definitely looking forward to giving you guys a further review in the future. But again, I wanted to just show you what the game had in it and what to kind of expect. So there's plenty of storage and stuff for the other tiles. In the box. The box is a weird shape, so it's not going to really fit on, it doesn't fit on any of my shelves like all my other games do, which is a little annoying. Just wanted to say a quick thanks for you guys watching this video. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and most importantly, until next time, game on.